The Crusader Order, the Knights Templar. They fought for God, then burned by his church.
The dawn of Friday, October 13th, 1307, broke with eerie, coordinated precision across France. In the flickering torchlight of the Paris Temple, a massive, fortified complex rivaling the royal palace itself, heavily armed royal seneschals breached the iron gates. They carried sealed orders from King Philip IV, demanding the immediate arrest of all Knights Templar within his borders. Grand Master Jacques de Molay, a seasoned veteran of the Holy Land, was violently dragged from his quarters. By noon, hundreds of the most feared and wealthy warrior monks in Christendom were in chains, accused of unspeakable heresies. It was a staggering overnight decapitation of a transcontinental superpower. The arrest of the Templars was not merely the fall of an order, it was the largest police operation of the Middle Ages, shattering a 188-year-old institution that had entirely shaped the medieval world. The poor fellow soldiers of Christ and of the Temple of Solomon, universally known as the Knights Templar, were a Catholic military order founded around 1119 in the Kingdom of Jerusalem. Originally established as a small band of sworn protectors for Christian pilgrims in the Levant, they evolved into a unique hybrid, a trans-European financial empire and a monastic special forces unit. At their 13th century zenith, the Templars possessed an estimated population of 15,000 to 20,000 members, though historians note only about 10% were fully armed knights. Their geographic core spanned the embattled Crusader states, the Kingdom of Jerusalem, the County of Tripoli, and the Principality of Antioch. Their logistical and economic backbone stretched across an estimated 1.5 million square kilometers of Western Europe, encompassing over 1,000 commanderies. They are historically monumental, both for their martial prowess and for inventing the foundational mechanics of multinational banking. The Templars emerged from the blood-soaked aftermath of the First Crusade. In 1099, Christian armies captured Jerusalem, establishing a fragile foothold in a predominantly hostile Islamic Near East. While the Holy City was secured, the surrounding geography remained exceedingly dangerous. Bands of displaced regional militias routinely slaughtered European pilgrims journeying from the coast to the holy sites. Recognizing this deadly vacuum of security, a French knight named Jacques de Molay approached King Baldwin II of Jerusalem in 1119 with 8 companions. They proposed creating a monastic community dedicated strictly to martial protection. Baldwin granted them a wing of the royal palace on the Temple Mount, resting on the ruins of King Solomon's temple, which granted their iconic name. For their first decade, they lived in total obscurity, a stark contrast to the mythic, instant power retroactively assigned to them by later generations. Their defining collective identity shifted through the ideological mastery of Bernard of Clairvaux, a towering theological figure. Bernard penned De Laude Novae Militiae, in praise of the new knighthood, around 1129, a treatise that philosophically resolved the apparent contradiction between shedding blood and Christian salvation. He argued that killing for Christ was not homicide, but malicide, the righteous eradication of evil. This revolutionary doctrine birthed the monk warrior. Geographically, the harsh, unforgiving Levant terrain necessitated heavily fortified outposts and highly disciplined shock cavalry to counter the mobile light horsemen of Seljuk and Fatimid adversaries. Culturally, they adopted a heavily modified Cistercian rule. Their lives were defined by absolute austerity and an uncompromising rejection of surrender. Retreat was strictly forbidden unless outnumbered by at least 3 to 1, forging their permanent reputation as fanatical combatants. Their ascent from impoverished guards to a continental powerhouse was rapid following the Council of Troyes in 1129, where the Church officially recognized the order. European nobility showered them with massive land grants and privileges. The absolute turning point occurred in 1139, when Pope Innocent II issued the papal bull Omne Datum Optimum. This sweeping decree fundamentally altered the medieval power structure. It exempted the Templars from all local tithes and taxes, allowed them to build their own oratories, and made them answerable to no earthly king or bishop, only to the Pope himself. With this blank check of absolute sovereignty, the Templars aggressively expanded, acquiring manors, vineyards, and shipping fleets across France, England, Portugal, and Aragon. By the mid-12th century, kings who once ignored them were actively pleading for their military intervention and financial loans, signaling their permanent arrival as a geopolitical force. The defining display of Templar military supremacy occurred on November 25, 1177, at the Battle of Montgisard. The brilliant Ayyubid Sultan Saladin had marched out of Egypt with a massive invasion force, estimated by modern historians between 20,000 and 26,000 men, aiming to definitively crush the Crusader states. King Baldwin IV of Jerusalem, a 16-year-old afflicted with debilitating leprosy, was caught severely outnumbered with a few thousand infantry and a pivotal vanguard of approximately 500 Knights Templar. Recognizing that a defensive siege meant certain annihilation, the Templars ambushed Saladin's vast host while it was strung out crossing a ravine. The heavy Templar cavalry formed a wedge and smashed directly into Saladin's personal guard. The immense kinetic shock broke the Ayyubid lines instantly. The Islamic army routed with catastrophic casualties, and Saladin only narrowly escaped. This miracle victory permanently solidified their fearsome aura. The Templar timeline is defined by extreme triumphs and equally devastating catastrophes. 1147 to 1149, the Second Crusade. The Templars saved King Louis VII's French army from total annihilation in the mountains of Asia Minor, organizing terrified infantry into disciplined squares, proving their unparalleled tactical superiority. 1187, the Battle of Hattin, a catastrophic defeat. Dehydrated and outmaneuvered, the Crusader army was obliterated. Saladin ordered the execution of all 230 captured Templars. This disaster led directly to the tragic fall of Jerusalem. 1191, the Third Crusade. Under the command of Richard the Lionheart, the Templars played a crucial role in capturing the strategic port of Acre, establishing it as their heavily fortified headquarters. 1291, the fall of Acre. The Mamluk Sultanate besieged and annihilated Acre. The Templar garrison fought to the absolute death, marking the final bloody eviction of the Crusader presence in the Holy Land. Today, the Templars are most famous not for their broadswords, but for their ledger books. Because pilgrims traveling to the Holy Land faced immense risk of robbery, the Templars established a groundbreaking financial system. A noble in London could deposit gold at the local preceptory, receive a ciphered letter of credit, and withdraw the exact equivalent in local currency upon arriving in Jerusalem. This early model of the traveler's check made the order obscenely wealthy. Outside of economics, they were feared for their signature aesthetic, the stark white mantle adorned with a blood-red cross patée, granted in 1147 by Pope Eugenius III. This uniform served as a psychological weapon. In subsequent centuries, their immense wealth, sudden disappearance, and esoteric lifestyle made them the ultimate blank canvas for mythmakers, turning them into the foundational archetype of the modern secret society. Internally, the Templars operated under the Latin Rule, a strict code that originally contained 72 clauses, but expanded to over 600 specific statutes. The hierarchy was uncompromisingly rigid. At the top was the Grand Master, followed by aristocratic knights dressed in white. Below them were sergeants, drawn from lower social classes, forming the bulk of the infantry in black or brown. Chaplains handled spiritual needs, while lay workers kept the vast machine running. Life was deeply ascetic. They ate meals in total silence while listening to scripture, slept in dormitories with lights constantly burning to prevent illicit behavior, and were forbidden from physical contact with women. While brutally uncompromising in combat, in times of peace, Templars in the Levant frequently engaged in pragmatic diplomacy and shared hunting expeditions with Islamic neighbors, displaying a complex geopolitical realism that deeply offended zealous European newcomers. The destruction of the Templars was born of obsolescence and royal greed. Following the fall of Acre in 1291, they relocated their headquarters to Cyprus and then Paris. Stripped of their foundational purpose, protecting the Holy Land, they were increasingly viewed as an arrogant, hyper-wealthy multinational corporation standing idle. The absolute catalyst for their doom was King Philip IV of France. Deeply in debt to the Templars after financing his wars, Philip plotted to erase his ledgers by erasing the order. Following the arrests in 1307, the French Inquisition utilized horrifying torture to extract entirely fabricated confessions. Knights confessed to spitting on the cross and worshipping a false idol. Pope Clement V, heavily dominated by the French crown, formally dissolved the order in 1312, transferring their assets to the Knights Hospitaller. The final curtain fell in 1314, when the last Grand Master, Jacques de Molay, was burned alive at the stake. The permanent legacy of the Templars lies primarily in their institutional architecture. They laid the absolute bedrock for the modern banking system, introducing secure international fund transfers and corporate asset management that prefigured the great Italian merchant banks of the Renaissance. Militarily, they introduced the concept of the standing, professional military unit to a medieval Europe that previously relied entirely on seasonal feudal levies. Their sprawling network of commanderies drove massive infrastructural development, including continental road building and the financing of monumental Gothic cathedrals. However, their legacy also bears the dark, undeniable stain of the Crusades. They were the tip of the spear in centuries of religiously motivated violence, contributing to lasting theological and cultural trauma in the Middle East. Their staggering wealth also accelerated the centralization of state power, proving monarchs could fund national armies by plundering a wealthy minority. No medieval institution has been more aggressively mythologized than the Knights Templar. Since the 18th century, organizations like the Freemasons have claimed esoteric descent from the order, integrating Templar imagery into their modern rites. In modern popular culture, they are consistently portrayed as shadowy puppeteers guarding the Holy Grail, the Ark of the Covenant, or hidden occult knowledge. However, modern historical scholarship has definitively cleared their name regarding the charges of heresy. In 2001, Dr.
Barbara Frahl discovered the Chinon parchment in the Vatican's secret archives, a document proving that Pope Clement V had secretly investigated and formally absolved the Templar leadership of heresy in 1308, before political pressure forced him to dissolve them. Today, they remain a source of endless fascination and historical debate regarding their true net impact on East-West relations.
The trajectory of the Knights Templar remains one of history's most profound illustrations of the fragility of institutional power. They began with nothing but righteous zeal and 9 destitute men, yet within a century they commanded fleets, kings, and the vast economies of 2 continents. Their story reveals a harsh historical truth. Absolute commitment can build incredible empires, but extreme wealth combined with political irrelevance is a fatal combination. The Templars survived blistering deserts, the lethal arrows of Ayyubid archers, and the complete collapse of the Kingdom of Jerusalem, only to be utterly destroyed by a stroke of a pen and the unyielding greed of a bankrupt king. They stand today as a haunting monument to the medieval mind, an era where men could seamlessly blend the ruthless slaughter of warfare with the silent prayers of a monastery, leaving behind a ghost that continues to captivate the modern world.